Welcome to Henry and Simon, episode number 8. This is our interview with Rudradeb Mitra, who's the founder of OMDENA. This is a group that uses artificial intelligence to solve some of the world's trickiest social problems by using bottom-up collaboration. Rudradeb kindly explains what all that means, talks about some of the most fascinating projects in OMDENA's portfolio, including recent work in Nigeria and Somalia. He talks about how they find the talent who basically helps solve those problems, and talks about his own really interesting personal journey. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and do follow us on henryandsimon.com. Hey Rudradeb, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks a lot, Simon and Henry, for having me.
Hello.
We're delighted you could join us. Rudradeb, I was wondering, could you let the audience know a bit about what OMDENA is about, and perhaps talk to what we mean by this bottom-up collaboration and what role AI plays in that?
Absolutely. So, as many of our audience may have this kind of view about AI being either they think it's good or bad. And what we thought of doing is actually showing that how can we use AI to solve social problems, benefiting people often at the bottom of the pyramid. And we also think the best way to build such solutions is to engage the people who are actually facing the problem or who are more close to the problem. And that's what we do. So we are a platform where people from all over the world, currently 79 countries, collaborate and try to build models to solve a social problem. So what does that basically mean? What are the kind of problems we are talking about? So give you for examples. So we work with United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, trying to understand what is the connection between climate anomalies and conflicts in Somalia. And this is quite interesting to understand this correlation. So if we can see that, okay, when a climate anomaly like a drought or a flood comes in, that leads to, within a month or two, conflicts in certain parts of Somalia. So by modeling that behavior, we can predict potential conflicts and can avoid conflicts. Another example that we worked in Nigeria with an NGO based there, where we were trying to understand what are the areas in Nigeria that are best suited for solar adoption. Now, the government in Nigeria, to my understanding, is not in favor of solar power. But what we did is through data, we want to show that, look, there are parts in Nigeria which are dark at night. That means they don't have electricity, which are at least 10 to 15 kilometers away from the national grid. So even if they keep on adding more and more coal power, these people will never get the electricity. And there is a population over 1,000 people, and they have schools and hospitals, and they are good suitable for solar power. So once we model that kind of places, then it's very difficult for someone to avoid saying, oh, we don't need solar power, because that's kind of a data-driven discussion. Or we worked in Brazil with a company, they are identifying the fires in forest fire, that AI models that can identify forest fire, or actually the smoke before even the fire comes in Brazil. Or another project we work in India, trying to model the sexual harassment cases, work with Safe City, on an NGO based in India, and where we try to identify what are the patterns of sexual harassment. And there are patterns in there too. And so we can model that, and they can then warn people that, okay, these are the areas maybe you can avoid, or these are the times and areas that you shouldn't go in that place. And we also create a safe route. So we worked on various kinds of challenges, and 17 in total. And these are the kind of problems that we deal with. So we often work with organizations that are on the ground solving these problems. So we are not making up the problem. So these are people who are actually on the ground facing the problem. They know what the problem is. And then how do we solve it is, as I said, bottom-up collaboration. What does that mean? That people from all over the world come together over a period of 2 months and build the model to solve it. So that creates certain benefits of doing that. The first is, of course, we are creating opportunities for these people who are often in remote parts of the world to solve real world problem. But at the same time, we also think that when you are engaging a very diverse group of people from different backgrounds, different countries, you are going to build more ethical solutions. because it's not just one way of looking at building the solution, which is often one of the problems with AI. And you can see a lot of cases where a group of engineers in Alexa end up building something which was locking women out inside their home, because the men were often not aware of the problems that, for example, a woman can have. So there are these other benefits of using this kind of the method. So that's what we are doing.
That sounds excellent. And you're so you've had these a number of what looks like very interesting projects already. How are you getting the collaborators to come in, and how do you find the people who are best suited to a particular challenge, or is that just something that is happening organically?
So it is happening organically, and to my surprise, when we started, we get a lot of people applying for these challenges. And these are not only people in Africa or in India or in South America. These are even people in Stanford and MIT and Google, engineers from they apply. So how are we getting it? Because people love what we do. If you follow our LinkedIn page, you will see people post about their experience. They share about how great they have, how great the experience have been, how much they have learned. So there is a need. For a lot of people, what has happened is that if you look at over the last 3-4 years, because of online education, a lot of people in the world have access to knowledge, especially AI and machine learning, but they don't have access to opportunities. What they really lack is real world problems to solve. So we are giving them these real world problems to solve. So that creates a lot of people being interested in being part of what we are doing. At the same time, there are a lot of people who are working in big corporates or even in universities who lack this doing something for good. They want to be part of something bigger. They want to work with people from all over the world. They are also attracted. So the growth has been purely organic. Every time we post a project or a challenge that we change the name now is a project in the platform, we get on average 100 to 150 people applying for each of them. So it purely grows organically. We have spent $0, absolutely $0 in our marketing.
So that's awesome. So there's this kind of upsurge in community interest. People want to that, and they have a chance to do something very practical. And I suppose just on to this before I'm sure Henry has a next question. In the case of Somalia or Nigeria, these very interesting applications that you're involved with, what happens then? So, so we have this information about Somalia, some, weather or climate patterns has a major impact on people's, safety and health. What's happening with that information? And does that in turn create another challenge to actually implement those findings that the AI and the people have helped discover?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I think this is one of the biggest problem in AI. So 80% of projects or models that are being built in AI is never used in real world. So we want to solve that problem. And how we do that is we do not make our own challenges or projects. We work with organizations that are already solving that problem on the ground. And they are capable of applying the models that we will build. So give you concrete examples that you asked, let's say Nigeria. So the model that we had built that is already out there online, open source, and this NGO that is actually worked with us, they are now showing that models to policymakers in Nigeria. They're actually meeting these guys and showing them, look, this is what we found out. Same in Somalia, actually, we worked with UNHCR and with data scientists based in Geneva. And so they are actually applying the models in their own organization. In Brazil, this is a company that we worked, they actually have cameras located in various parts of Brazil to identify forest fire. So they are implementing the model that we built and integrating that into their existing system. Same in Safe City, India, that the sexual harassment case, they have an app, existing app, and they are integrating our warning, but also a safe route kind of path, which when someone reports an sexual harassment, our algorithm was giving them a safe route to the nearest police station or the nearest, let's say, metro station. And they are integrating that model into their existing app that they have. So that's how different organizations are using the models that we build and integrating them into that they are doing the work.
I see. So if I am, let's say, a machine learning specialist, and I will go to OMDENA web page, I saw that there is this apply form. So I apply, and you got my contact, and I will introduce what do I do, or what potentially can I do for you, and what happens then? So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's already that also partly answer. I will answer Simon's one question I forgot is how do I select these people, and that also follows to your question. So when someone fills up the form, there are 4 questions that we ask. Only one of the question is about expertise in machine learning. That what is the most complicated project that you have done. The other 3 are actually your intrinsic motivation. For us, I think it's more important to understand what motivates you to do this, rather than just your pure skill. So once we receive this form, for now, I'm going through that and I select some of the people that I think I would like to talk to based on the application. And then I do a call with some of them. And then based on the call, it's a 15 minutes call. And then we select around 40 to 50 people from that group.
Yeah, and what if I am developer who actually needs to get his salary? Are you the one who I work with? Or
unfortunately, no, because and there is various reasons for that. That what we have seen, there is something called a tournament theory, and what we also know that when you create a financial incentive, unfortunately, it leads to a competition within that environment. So we don't want to financially provide someone money, but what we do is we do give other benefits and incentives. So for example, once you finish a program, you get access to free courses, you get access to tools that we have partners with, you get certificates, we give recommendations. A lot of people have said that after finishing a challenge, they improve the ability to get a job because they gain real world experience. So that's the way we are incentivizing these people rather than a financial incentive. But we do have a plan to give scholarships because we are aware that not everyone can afford to work for free just for experience. And real example, I remember when we were working for the Somalia challenge, there was a girl, Munira. She actually lived in Kenya. And I remember when I was having a call with her, she was living in this kind of hut, and she's a Somalian refugee. And one of her main concern was money and money for survival. And which is, so we are in the process of now setting up some scholarship where we can at least give some of the people a scholarship, not based on their merit or their ability to contribute, which kind of ends up being competitive, but more on their financial situation that they are in, so that they can work and gain experience while at the same time having some money.
Ru, I was just looking at your LinkedIn page, and you seem like a very active guy. You know, you've written books, you've been out there at many events presenting, you're involved with Google through another initiative. What was your story? Like, how did you get involved in this AI initiative? You know, what was your, say, burning passion behind kickstarting this? And was it indeed just you starting one of these and then you felt, you know what, there's a need for us to kind of build this out across the globe? Absolutely.
So my connection with AI goes back in 2002. So before even all the hype thing, I love mathematics. I love puzzle solving. So my background goes as 2002, 3 published paper. I come from a lower middle class family in India. I got a scholarship to come to Germany to work for a professor of robotics. So that's my background. Then I did my master's in Cambridge. That changed my life in many ways, that I started believing that I can also open a company. And then I built a few companies. And what happened in 2017, beside all of that, I'm also minimalist. I do a lot of meditation, and I'm highly intuitive. So I felt at a point that I want to just not earn money. I just want something else to do. I have no idea what. And then that point switched, and I said, okay, let me start writing. And then, you know, I started writing, and they'd give me opportunities to go and speak around the world. And what happened, OMDENA, was that in 2018, I traveled and spoke in many events, and everywhere when I went, including I spoke in Google in Prague, but also I was in Serbia and I was in Croatia. I met a lot of talented people who I felt do not have access to opportunities, yet they have the knowledge. And I felt that the world is not fair. And the first motivation was, can I create somewhere where people can, no matter where they live, they can come in and work. And not because someone is born in a poor country means they have less opportunities. And that was the first driver. And then the other 2 drivers were, of course, the AI for good. And my book was purely about creating value with AI. I talk about how actually AI can help people at the bottom of the pyramid. That's where I think the biggest value of AI is. And the third incentive or motivation came from the point that I believe that we should collaborate and not compete. There is a lot of things that, for example, with the current situation, there's a lot of hackathons that are happening. And I always wonder, that why people are competing. Like I myself have been mentor of certain hackathons during the virus pandemic. And I find these are great people, like 800 people who are coming together and trying to compete with each other to win something. But why not they just collaborate to solve a problem together, right? So to me, I always felt that collaboration is more powerful than competition. So these are the three drivers that were just in me. And I thought, okay, maybe I can do something about it. So we started OMDENA only 11 months ago. That's May 2019. And when we started, I never thought that, well, I will not say I never thought, I was not so sure that it could actually end up building sophisticated AI models. So I thought that this could be a place where people can come together, build something from each other, learn from each other. But I was not very sure that such kind of collaboration can actually work where people have never met each other. They come from different time zones, different cultures. And that was my surprise, that when you bring the right people, when I say right people, I mean people with the right intrinsic motivation, and give them a bit of extrinsic motivation and have the skill set, they are super motivated to work together, collaborate, and build something together. And often the models that we have built are quite sophisticated machine learning models. These are not the simplest regression or the logic things. So that's how it all happened.
Right. Maybe I just have another business question. So I can imagine that you apply or you finish the projects that are very interesting. Your guys will learn a lot of things on it, and then you have something that we can call a product. So what's the plan with the product then? Is there any financial strategy with what you do?
Yes. So that is one of the questions that we have to answer. But we think that if we are building a model for a startup or for a business, even if they are applying for a social good, they should pay our money, a small fee, but they should pay money for the operational cost of that. And we had run out of those 17 projects, 2 of them were paid. So we are aware that people can pay us money, but we don't want to only do things for money. So we also are open to when an NGO comes to us and they're solving a very interesting problem, but they say, look, we have no funding. So we are open to that point. Okay, let's do it for free, but in some other cases we will charge money. And I think that's how I think the future business should be, that businesses should not only look at the pure profits or maximizing the shareholders. I think business should also look at the impact that they are creating. And the way we should value businesses is not just based on the revenue dollar value, but more also on the impact. So I think that's the way we want to also build a business, which is maximizing the impact and also have sustenance that could make the thing continue doing what we are doing.
Ru, how do you like, we're not going to go into sort of like the deep, dark aspect of what AI could be, but how do you think artificial intelligence should be regulated in the future? As indeed, there is a possibility it could end up with a serious have and have not group, although it seems like your organization is really trying to counter that. But how do you think it could be regulated so, some nefarious actors don't get too much control over our lives in the future?
Absolutely. So I think our current AI systems should not become decision-making systems. I'm in principle against machines replacing humans who are making decisions for our lives. I think machines, as intelligent machines, should help humans make better decisions. So if we are just thinking that let's have a machine which will replace humans and they will decide things for us, then we should be really worried about. And because they're worried about, because at the end, the machines are not, although we call them artificial intelligent, they are not really intelligent. They're just they recognize certain patterns, and based on the patterns, it kind of predicts something, let's say. And patterns based on data, and data are by nature can be biased because, of course, the data could be biased because humans have biases. So we shouldn't really replace humans' decision making. What we should do is machines helping humans to make better decisions. So in that case, it takes away the potential problems of AI that perhaps you're talking about. But of course, AI can replace the routine work. So if it's just doing some routine basic work, repeating patterns over and over again, then I think that there is no harm if machine replaces, because may not be a critical decision that the machine is taking.
Yeah, it's an area where venture capital has gone into in a great deal. There's been some very large increases in company valuations in that space. That's sort of like refining repetitive tasks and working on that. As we come to the end of this, just wondering, do you have any call to action you want to discuss with respect to OMDENA, like what you're doing, say what you'd like to do over the next 12 months, organizations you'd like to work with, or indeed any projects that you'd like to talk more about before we close this out?
Yeah, I think that one thing I'm quite passionate about in the recent few weeks, and we are running a challenge and we will run few more challenges, is on data-driven decision making. And during the current pandemic, different countries are applying different policies, let's say. And often perhaps you are aware of that the lockdowns has a huge effect on people who are the most vulnerable economically, but also people, we see there have been huge increase in domestic violence, child abuse. And I'm not sure whether governments are aware or were aware when they were making those decisions of lockdowns, all the other bad effects of those. So I think that what we want to focus on is helping decision makers and governments around the world make data-driven decisions, not only during pandemics, but also on other aspects, which is, I think, is lacking in the current world, because these small decisions has a huge effect on the society. And the current pandemic gives us a perfect environment, use cases also, to build such models. And this is what we are working on, and hopefully in 6 weeks' time, we can show we can show that what are the repercussions of different policies that governments have taken across, say, 10, 15 countries on 4 different metrics. People who have not access to health, people who have lost wage, people who have lost employment, and people who are affected by the domestic violence, and how big is the impact on those people. So that's something I'm quite passionate about, and that's one of the focus of OMDENA now. Also, we'll be starting a new challenge in a couple of weeks with ASU and university in the US on looking at student loans and how this lockdown is affecting students, both loan repayment, but also job market access to them. So yeah, these are the couple of things that I can just share with your audience to what keeps us busy now.
Yeah, Ru, is there any project deep inside your heart that you would one day say, I did it, I'm just off, you guys take care of my company, I just fulfilled my dream? Is there something like that?
No, actually not really. The way I live my life is I'm very present. So I don't have a goal in my life. I don't have any goals in my life. I don't even know what I will 6 months later where I want to achieve. So I just live life today, whatever it is, and to the best of I could live. And I wrote an article a month ago. I talk about something called effortless living. And I say that life should be, whatever we should do in our life should feel effortless. And a way to live effortless would be, it should feel natural, that whatever you are doing now is just what you could do. That's the only thing you could do, for example. It feels so effortless. So I don't have this kind of goal, that's what I want to achieve, and then I will not do anything. I just feel whatever, like today, I think what I'm doing is the best I could do. And I have no future plan as such.
Ru, listen, thank you so much for coming on. This is like really, really interesting, and I think our audience will love it. So thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of this hopefully lovely day in Warsaw.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks a lot for both of you for having me.